Imagine waking up after what you thought was a full night's rest, only to feel as though you haven't slept a single minute. You look at the clock, seeing 8 hours have passed, yet your body feels heavy, your head is cloudy, and that first step out of bed feels like a monumental effort. It's a common frustration I hear in my clinic every day. That discouraging sense that despite doing everything right, your morning energy has simply vanished into thin air. What many people over 60 don't realize is that while you appear to be resting, your body might actually be caught in a silent internal struggle. We often dismiss a dry mouth in the morning or a lingering headache as just a natural part of getting older, but these are actually quiet alarms. Your brain may be experiencing what we call invisible awakenings, tiny interruptions that prevent your heart and nervous system from truly repairing themselves, leaving you vulnerable to much more than just a tired morning. There is a hidden process that should happen every night, a deep neurochemical cleansing of the brain that only occurs when your sleep is uninterrupted. When this cycle is broken by factors you might never suspect, your brain stays on high alert even while you believe you are dreaming. But why does this happen even when you don't remember waking up? The answer lies in a pattern of nighttime blood pressure shifts and heart rate variations that we are only now beginning to fully understand. In the next few minutes, I will show you exactly why that exhausted feeling happens even after a full night in bed. We often focus on how many hours we sleep, but for those of us over 60, the real secret lies in the quality of those transitions. We are going to uncover a specific pattern of false rest, where your body appears still, but your internal systems are actually struggling to stay balanced. Understanding this shift is the first step toward reclaiming your morning vitality. We will look at how common morning signs, like a persistently dry mouth or a dull headache, are actually windows into your cardiovascular health. But there is a second, even more surprising factor involved here, something that happens in your circulatory system while you are in your deepest dreams. It is a hidden physiological shift that almost no one connects to their sleep, yet it determines how your heart recovers. If you want to learn how to recognize these silent signals, you can follow me on this channel. As we move forward, you'll see that some habits we think are harmless might actually be keeping our brains on high alert. There is one specific evening routine that I see in my clinic every week, and it acts like a silent thief of your deep sleep cycles. Most people believe they are helping their health, but the reality is quite the opposite. But before we reveal that error, we must understand the invisible rhythm that decides if your brain truly repairs itself. Many people believe they are winding down by watching the news or scrolling through a tablet just before sleep. You might think this helps you relax, but this simple habit is actually the first major thief of your morning energy. This exposure to artificial light sends a conflicting signal to your brain's internal clock. Even if you drift off easily, your mind stays in a state of high alert, preventing your heart and nervous system from entering the deep repair stages. This conflict triggers what we call invisible awakenings, tiny subconscious flickers of activity that keep you from truly resting. It is like trying to recharge a battery while the power keeps cutting out. The charge never actually reaches 100%. This is why you wake up feeling exhausted despite being in bed for 8 hours. If you want to better understand these silent signals the body sends during the night, you can follow me on this channel. However, this light-induced alertness is only the beginning of the story. There is a second, much more hidden factor that involves a specific shift in your blood circulation the moment your body becomes horizontal. This silent physiological change can actually force your heart to work harder during your dreams than it does during your afternoon walk. It is a hidden pressure that explains those morning headaches and that persistent dry mouth, and it is exactly what we will uncover next. Imagine your brain during sleep is like a busy city after a long day. When you close your eyes, a specialized cleaning crew moves in to wash away the cellular waste built up while you were awake. This essential process is what we call neurochemical cleansing. It is a vital internal rinse that only happens during the deepest levels of rest. If this cleaning is interrupted, even for a few seconds you don't remember, the waste stays behind, leaving your mind feeling heavy and clouded the next morning. You might think that as long as you aren't getting up during the night, you are sleeping soundly. But your brain can experience invisible awakenings, tiny flickers of alertness that pull you out of deep sleep without you knowing. Many patients dismiss a dry mouth or a morning headache as just a natural part of aging. In reality, these are silent signals that your internal rhythm was struggling. It is as if your heart and brain were forced to stay on duty all night instead of getting the recovery they needed. This hidden struggle often starts with how our circulation reacts the moment we lie down. When the body is horizontal, the heart must work differently to move blood. If the vessels are slightly stiff, this transition becomes a silent stressor. This explains why something as simple as your sleeping position can influence your blood pressure throughout the night. But there is another detail about your nighttime heart rate that almost no one notices. And it is here where the situation truly begins to change for many of us. But there is one detail that almost everyone misses, even those who think they are doing everything right for their health. You might have dimmed the lights and found a comfortable position, yet you could still be making a mistake that completely stops your brain's cleaning crew from working. It is a common habit, often seen as a way to relax, that actually forces your heart into a state of silent stress, just as you are trying to drift off. This is exactly what I saw with a patient of mine named Robert, who couldn't understand why his mornings felt so heavy despite his disciplined routine. He was convinced he was resting perfectly, but his body was telling a very different story through a few quiet signs he chose to ignore. Understanding his journey reveals a hidden error that many of us commit every single night, and it is where the story truly begins to prove itself in practice. Based on these hidden patterns, I frequently encounter a specific frustration from patients over the age of 60 that always stays with me. They often tell me, "Doctor, I stayed in bed all night, but I woke up feeling like I was hit by a truck." There is a deep sense of discouragement in their voices, because on paper, they are doing everything correctly by spending 8 hours resting. Yet their morning energy has completely vanished, leaving them feeling drained before the day even begins. I remember a patient named Arthur, who was very disciplined with his routine, but felt increasingly exhausted every single morning. He didn't remember waking up at all, but when we analyzed his data, we found tiny flickers of brain activity that don't reach your conscious mind. These are what we call microfragmentations, and these small interruptions to your rest are enough to stop the neurochemical cleansing your brain needs. Arthur was living in a state of false rest, where his body was still, but his brain was essentially working overtime. What Arthur dismissed as simple signs of aging, like a persistently dry mouth and mild morning headaches, were actually quiet alarms from his cardiovascular system. His heart rate was fluctuating significantly during the night because his breathing wasn't as efficient as it needed to be. This forced his internal systems into a silent struggle for balance, preventing him from ever reaching those deep, restorative stages of sleep. It wasn't just about his age, it was about his body being stuck in a high-alert mode that robbed him of his vitality. This loss of morning energy isn't just an inconvenience. It gradually deprives you of quality time with your family and the hobbies you love. By recognizing these subtle signals, like Arthur eventually did, we can begin to address the underlying invisible awakenings that threaten your long-term cognitive and heart health. It is heartbreaking to see someone lose their zest for life simply because they didn't know their brain was staying awake while they were trying to sleep. But there is one more detail about this process that changes everything. Building on Arthur's experience, there is one very common habit that many people believe is actually helping their health. You might be finishing a large glass of water or a warm herbal tea just minutes before laying your head down, thinking you are staying hydrated for the night ahead. While hydration is essential, this sudden flood of liquid late in the evening forces your kidneys and bladder into an active state. Even if you don't remember fully waking up to use the bathroom, your brain stays in a shallow stage of rest, constantly monitoring your internal signals instead of entering deep repair. Another subtle thief of your morning energy is the temperature of your bedroom, which often creates what we call thermal stress. Many of us, as we get older, prefer a very warm and cozy environment, often piling on extra blankets to avoid feeling any chill. However, for your heart and brain to enter the deepest stages of neurochemical cleansing, your core body temperature actually needs to drop slightly. If the room is too warm, your heart rate stays slightly elevated as the body works hard to shed heat, keeping your nervous system on a low-level simmer all night long. We also need to consider that small, seemingly harmless snack some people take to avoid waking up hungry. You might have a piece of fruit or a couple of crackers, believing it will stabilize your energy while you sleep. But even a small amount of food requires your digestive system to start working, which diverts blood flow and triggers what we call nighttime metabolic alerts. These are subtle shifts in your chemistry that act like a quiet alarm clock for your brain, preventing the full restoration your body and heart desperately need to feel truly refreshed. When these common habits combine, they create a perfect storm that prevents your heart and blood vessels from truly softening and recovering. It is quite surprising to realize that things we do to feel better might actually be the very things keeping us in a state of false rest. But there is another, even more significant detail regarding how your body processes these small disruptions. And it involves a specific signal your brain sends to your heart during the early morning hours. This is where we begin to see the real impact on your long-term cardiovascular health. On the basis of these hidden habits, you might start noticing small changes that are easy to ignore during your busy day. One of the most common signs I see is a lingering mental fog that follows you from the bedroom to the kitchen. It feels as though your thoughts are moving through thick honey, making simple decisions feel surprisingly heavy. You might also notice a subtle weight in your legs or a slight puffiness around your ankles when you first stand up. These aren't just signs of a long day. They are often quiet whispers from a circulatory system that didn't fully decompress while you were resting. Another signal that your body stayed on high alert is a strange coldness in your feet, even under warm blankets, or a sudden fluttering sensation in your chest just as you wake up. This internal restlessness often mirrors a night spent in shallow sleep, where your heart rate never truly reached its lowest, most restorative point. If you wake up and feel a dry, sticky sensation in your mouth or a dull ache behind your eyes, your body is telling you that its nighttime cleaning crew was interrupted. These subtle indicators are your first real chance to intervene before the exhaustion becomes a permanent part of your life. While many of these signs can be managed with better habits, it is vital to know when your body is signaling something more urgent. If you experience persistent chest discomfort, shortness of breath that doesn't improve, or a sudden intense headache that feels unlike anything you've had before, please seek medical evaluation immediately. These stronger signals deserve professional attention to ensure your heart and brain are truly protected. Recognizing the difference between a tired morning and a medical alert is a key part of staying independent and healthy as the years go by. Since we now understand how those invisible awakenings are stealing your morning vitality, we can begin by protecting the deep cleaning process your brain needs every night. One of the simplest changes you can make is to create a dedicated buffer zone of at least 1 hour before your head hits the pillow. During this time, try to dim the lights and put away any screens that emit artificial blue light. This signal tells your internal clock that the day is truly over, allowing your heart rate to begin its natural, healthy decline before you even close your eyes. It is worth remembering these 3 specific adjustments that I often recommend to my patients to help stabilize their nighttime rhythm. First, try to limit large amounts of liquids about 2 hours before bed to prevent those silent metabolic alerts that keep your brain in a shallow stage of rest. Second, keep your bedroom slightly cool, as a lower temperature helps your body enter the deep repair stages more easily. Third, avoid heavy snacks late in the evening to keep your circulation focused on cellular recovery rather than digestion. If you like, you can write these 3 points down as your new foundation for better sleep. We also need to consider how your body handles the physical transition of lying down for several hours. If you often wake up with a dry mouth or a heavy head, try slightly elevating your upper body with a supportive wedge or an extra pillow. This subtle change can improve your respiratory efficiency and reduce the silent, invisible stress on your heart during the deepest part of the night. Creating a quiet and dark sanctuary in your bedroom is not just about comfort. It is a vital step in helping your nervous system feel safe enough to fully disengage from the world and truly recharge. These small shifts in your routine are not about overnight miracles, but about giving your body the consistent environment it needs to maintain its internal balance. By organizing your evening in this way, you are actively supporting your long-term cognitive health and protecting your heart from unnecessary nighttime strain. Remember that while these habits are powerful tools for prevention and well-being, they are meant to support your overall health journey. If your morning exhaustion continues even after making these changes, it is always a wise decision to speak with your doctor to ensure your cardiovascular system is functioning exactly as it should. Reclaiming your morning energy is not about finding a magic solution, but about listening to the quiet requests your body makes every single night. When you start protecting those deep repair cycles, you are doing more than just avoiding a tired morning. You are investing in your independence and the vibrant life you deserve with your family. These small, intentional shifts in your evening routine can transform a state of false rest into a true, deep recovery that protects your heart and keeps your mind sharp for years to come. If you found these insights helpful for your journey toward better health, I invite you to follow me here for more practical advice on longevity. I would also love to hear from you in the comments below. Please let me know which health topic or specific concern you would like me to cover in my next video. Your feedback helps me create content that truly supports your well-being, and I look forward to continuing this conversation with you as we work together to protect your vitality.